The orangutan would not let him go.
Money!
Realistically, you probably weren't in that much trouble in this situation, but it is still not an ideal one to be in. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this guy hanging out with an orangutan as well as its offspring. As the offspring comes closer, this guy attempts to leave the picture here, but the orangutan is not letting him do so and has a very tight grip on his arm. And there's really nothing else this guy could have done in this situation that would have helped him escape the grip. Orangutans are extremely strong, possessing grip strength of around 600 pounds. And if they really wanted to, it would be no problem at all for them to snap your arm, wrist, or hand. Fortunately, orangutans are not usually aggressive. They're quite docile towards humans. That being said though, orangutans are still wild animals, so you don't want to hang around males. They can be quite unpredictable, especially during time periods where they're looking for territory, and you don't want to do anything too crazy when you're around the young. There's a very good reason why all these players ran off the pitch, but so many people are making up stories about it that nobody knows what's real or fake. Don't worry though, I've got you. This is a TikTok video that I got tagged in, says POV it's 2017, you're at a soccer match and your time machine breaks and you find out what really happened. We see a bunch of players playing normally, then out of nowhere, every single player runs off the pitch as if they're afraid of something, which they are. In reality, for context, this is a match that took place in 2011, not 2017, in Torreon, Mexico in August. Match was between Santos Laguna and Morelia, and I've seen a lot of people saying things like the referee had a knife and went after a player, or the goalkeeper did, but none of those are real. In reality, there were gunshots that rang out, and it didn't even happen inside of the stadium. There was a cartel and police shootout just outside of the stadium. So people heard the shots and they ran away in fear. I would strongly advise against looking up this video. You guys can do what you want to do, but trust me, I've seen it. It's not that pretty. This is a relatively unassuming video. It shows this man staring at a tractor that's going up and down. This guy's not just looking at the tractor here, he's actually debating on how he's going to get onto it because he was a professional tractor stuntman. For context, this guy's name was Nishu Deshwal. He was a 22-year-old Indian YouTuber from Haryana, which is northern India, and his content primarily revolved around tractor stunts. So as you guys can see, he would tie tractors together, bring them up, make them do wheelies, and one of the most popular things that he would do is flip them up onto their backs vertically and then bring them back down. On this particular day though, in February of 2024, he hopped onto this tractor, brought it up too far, and it folded back onto him, taking his life. Gotta be honest guys, I'm a little bit skeptical here, but I'm still going to talk about it because I got tagged in this so many times. The video that you guys just watched is pretty simple. It shows this woman making her content. The caption says, "Is she in danger?" The person screen recording opens up the comments. This one says, "Wear a pink shirt if you're in danger and you got kidnapped." And then, as it turns out, the next video uploaded by this creator shows her wearing a pink shirt. So people have been pushing the panic button, sounding the alarm, stating that she's in danger. Now the account uploading these videos is FlowFlow. As you can see, they have 3.1 million followers. And if we're being real, it really doesn't make sense that this creator would be in trouble. I think that she's more than likely just engagement baiting. She also says this phrase a lot in her videos, "Kakao kakao," which people have been mistranslating into saying help help, when in reality this is a Hawaiian word that means we or us. But really, I think this is all done for popularity, not actually real. In my opinion, news agencies are very quick to say that things are a trend, but in this case, I think they are right because there are a lot of kids that are doing this and passing away because of it, so let this be a warning. This is another 2-image slideshow. The first image here shows a young man by the name of Daniel McGuire, a 14-year-old, and the second image shows a large collection of aerosol deodorants. For context, Daniel McGuire, a 14-year-old, recently just passed away on September 27th of 2025 after taking some huffs out of a deodorant can. Apparently, this is something that a lot of younger people have been doing lately. It's been referred to as fast gas, and huffing these fumes from deodorant is a way for them to get out of their right mind. And, you know, it's legal to buy deodorant. Sadly, this activity carries a lot of risks, and even doing this once could be enough to take your life. There are lots of younger kids that have passed from this, multiple stories, so don't do this.
Egal wie chaotisch die Welt ist, egal wie chaotisch mein Leben ist, du es schaffst, mein Herz mit...
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not here to judge, so do what you want to, but for the most part, this is not necessarily the best idea. This is actually another very old video that I got tagged in from a few years back, and a lot of people were kind of iffy on it. It shows this girl with her horse, and she's allowing the horse to lick her in the mouth as well as everywhere over her face. So yeah, people were a little bit weirded out by it. Now, believe it or not, there are actually pros and cons to this. The pros here, you could build a deeper bond with your horse. It shows trust between one another, so that is a positive. There are a couple negatives though. First off, if you allow a horse that you don't know to do this, it might end up biting you, and a horse's bite to your face can cause a lot of damage. In addition to this, there can be bacteria in the saliva of a horse, so if you allow it to lick you in a mucous membrane or on a cut, then you could potentially get sick if it's passing something on to you.
This creature does not belong on Earth.
Ho ho ho!
I would understand if you looked at this and thought this was straight up the spawn of Satan, but this is actually a good thing to see in your little ecosystem here. This TikTok that I got tagged in went super viral, got 16 million views. It shows this very strange looking creature swimming around in this person's personal aquarium. It has 6 legs, a very long tail, and it looks like it doesn't even belong on Earth. This creature very much does belong on Earth though. It's a completely normal aquatic creature. What we're looking at is a mayfly larva. Now, you're probably wondering why it's such a good sign that this is found in your ecosystem, and that is because mayfly larvae die very easily when it comes to pollutants and water contamination. The sheer fact that it's surviving here and grown so large means that your water is really clean, and other things are going to be able to grow and thrive in here as well. Also, this guy's kind of your pet now. They can live for 2 years before finally turning into a mayfly.
Guys, I'm out in the jungle. Look at this cool frog I found.
Brother, I really hope that you did not get this poison dart frog from the wild and that for some reason you're just making a joke. This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in. It shows this guy with a blue frog on his face. For those that know, blue is usually not a sign of something good in nature, but for some reason he is super cool about it, and he claims that he got this frog from out in the jungle, which is very bad news. The frog that this guy is allowing to crawl all over his face is more than likely a dying poison dart frog. These can come in a variety of different colors, but this one in particular is blue. In the wild, these frogs are obviously poisonous. They get all of their poison from their diet. They accumulate it through consuming things like ants and termites. Touching them and allowing the toxins that they carry into an open cut or into a mucous membrane can be deadly. If the frog is in captivity though, it's not that big of a deal because it hasn't had a diet that allows it to build up those toxins. Even though I know this clip is 100% real, every single time I've seen it, it just seems fake because it's so crazy. This TikTok video that I got tagged in has this person with 2 sticks. One of the sticks has notches. They rub it up and down, generating this sound. And just like magic, a bunch of worms crawl out of the ground and start gravitating towards that sound. This is legit. Now, doing this is actually relatively common when it comes to collecting worms. This is known as worm grunting or worm fiddling. It's extremely simple. Most of the time you need to drive a stake down into the ground and then use something with ridges, rubbing it back and forth. What this does is this releases a vibration into the earth below. That makes worms think there's a mole burrowing nearby, so they're going to surface to try to escape the mole because they don't want to be eaten. From here, you can easily collect them because they're out of the ground, and they think they're safe, but they're not. They're actually going to get captured by you. If you own a cat and you've ever wondered what it looks like when a cat sees your face, this is allegedly your answer. This is an older video that was just recently reposted to TikTok. It shows this cat lying down. There's this apparatus attached to its head. We then see the input, which is what they showed the cat, and the output, which is what the cat is apparently seeing. Now, this experiment has been taken out of context many times. This right here kind of looks like a cat. So what people say is that when your cat is looking at your human face, they, instead of seeing a human face, actually see a cat face, when that's not really the case. This experiment was actually done by the University of California, Berkeley, and what they were doing here was reading the output of 177 different cells inside of the thalamus, which is a part of your brain. So they're trying to reconstruct what the animal is seeing based off of the signals given. Meaning this is definitely not 100% accurate.
This is quite literally not possible.
Ho ho ho!
I am not joking. For 2 years straight, I've been getting tagged in this video, and today I'm going to crack. I will talk about it. This video has been reposted to every single platform. It has a simple request, somebody please explain. This guy's then holding a portion of a blowtorch. Notice it's not connected to any sort of fuel source. However, the flame is still going. So how is this possible? Well, first off, despite what everybody is thinking, the video here is not edited, it is real. And of course, common sense would dictate in order for the flame to stay lit, there has to be some sort of fuel source. So the fuel source is not coming directly from the bottle. Instead, there's probably a pressurized bit of the gas inside of this nozzle. And that fuel source is what is allowing the flame to continue staying lit. Though I will say it probably was not lit for very much longer after this video was recorded.
Would you spend the night for $1 million?
Ho, ho, ho!
$1 million is a lot of money, but honestly, hell no, man. You're not catching me spending the night in here at all. This TikTok video that I got tagged in doesn't have a whole lot of context. It shows this person walking through clearly an abandoned building. Lining all of the walls here are what look to be cubbies, but these are no ordinary cubbies. These are locations where bodies are stored. Now, you might be tempted to think that this person's walking through an abandoned morgue, and while I will agree they do look similar, this is more than likely an out-of-ground cemetery or mausoleum. Though I will say, the cubbies essentially act the same way. They're going to store somebody's body. It's clear this spot hasn't seen any level of maintenance in a very long time, and I'd be willing to bet that there are still remains in a lot of these compartments. So if you're going to explore an area like this, you better be wearing a mask and other personal protective equipment. Other than that, this video is more sad because the loved ones here are not getting the care that they deserve in their afterlife. This is the point that I'm going to stop this video from zooming in all the way, because even though this is satellite imagery, what's seen at the bottom here is far too graphic. The video that you guys just watched looks pretty unassuming. It shows this person zooming in on a specific point located in Sudan, and right before I cut the video off, we can see a dark spot on the ground here. This is a pile of humans that are no longer breathing. So I don't know if you guys are aware of what's going on in Sudan right now, but since 2023, there's been a civil war taking place between two forces, the RSF, or the Rapid Support Forces, and the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces. Recently, the RSF has taken control of a massive city, Al-Fashir, filled with refugees, and they have been taking people's lives non-stop for about a week and a half now. They now basically have complete control over the state of Darfur in Sudan, and things are so bad you can see the chaos from satellite imagery. There's no way of knowing exactly how many people the RSF has taken in this city, but estimates range from the low thousands to tens of thousands. So it's straight up genocide going on there right now. I would highly recommend doing some research if you guys have not already, because there's not too much I can cover within a minute. I know a lot of people probably think that this story is more morbid than anything, but I would disagree. I think this is sadder than anything. This is a pretty self-explanatory video that I got tagged in. It shows an image of a woman, an AI-generated image of skeletonized remains sitting on a chair. We then get the caption here saying you passed away while watching TV, and for 42 years you weren't found. The story that this video is referencing is that of Hedvita Golic, a Croatian woman who was born back in the 1920s and is thought to have passed away in 1966. On a particular day in 1966, Hedvita prepared herself a cup of tea, bundled herself up in blankets on her bed, and turned on the TV. At some point, she ended up passing away. For 42 years, she sat there. Nobody came into her apartment. No family members checked on her, which is why I think this is so sad. And even after she was found in 2008, no family members came forward to properly send her off. It might not look like it, but this Hey Apple slideshow might just be one of the most disturbing ones I've talked about yet. This slideshow first shows an image of a father by the name of Ronald, then an image of his son Timothy, and finally an image of some vintage pixie sticks, and this will all make sense here in a second. For context, Ronald was a very low accomplishing individual. This guy was bad with his finances, $100,000 in debt, and went through 21 jobs within 10 years, so you guys get the picture. Ronald was not going to let himself stay in debt though, and decided he was going to do something drastic. So in 1974, he took his son and daughter out trick-or-treating, took out a life insurance policy on both of them, then ended up giving them pixie sticks spiked with cyanide. Timothy ended up consuming one of these pixie sticks and passed away shortly afterwards. Ronald was not a suspect at first, but eventually was deemed guilty, his obvious motivation being money, and was put to death in 1984.
Nobody wants to use this toilet.
Ho ho ho!
Yeah, Santa, and I can't blame them. I wouldn't want to sit on this toilet either to go to the bathroom. Hell no. This video that I got tagged in has no context, but honestly there really doesn't need to be any, because here we can see Bugs Bunny sitting down in a squatted position, and as it turns out, he's part of this toilet. He's basically the backrest, and if you were to sit down here, his hands would be caressing your thighs. Now, as it turns out, this nightmare fuel of a toilet is not the only one at this establishment. This is located at a bar in Medellin, Colombia, and they feature all sorts of toilets with different characters as the backrest. You have Donald Duck, this one not as bad, but if you thought the toilets were bad, you guys should see the sinks here, man. This one I had to blank out, but Catwoman is squatting down over the sink and it is exposed. I'm just gonna leave it at that. In the men's restroom, it's the exact same way. You've got a faucet, and that's you know what. Doing this again, show of hands. How many people think this video is real? Looks like there's a few of you guys out there. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not. This is a believable enough video that I got tagged in here on TikTok. It shows a crocodile holding a turtle in its mouth. The turtle appears to be completely screwed until it literally crawls out of its shell and runs away. And while this might seem kind of logical at first in some weird, bizarre way, it's not. It's actually a pretty common misconception to believe that turtles are separate animals inside of their shells and that they can leave whenever they want to, when in reality that's not true at all. A turtle's shell is the literal turtle itself. It is built in. Despite this, you might see photos online of turtles without shells. Reality though, these are not turtles without shells. These are actually a different type of turtle known as a soft shell turtle. Still has a shell. This video might seem innocent enough at first, but just like most aquarium videos involving orcas, it's really not. The clip that you guys just watched shows these people viewing an orca through an underwater viewing area. The orca swims up, and in both separate takes, the orca swims up to the glass and smashes its head against it, so hard in fact that this person ended up getting startled. As we all know by now, orcas and aquariums do not mix. They are very intelligent creatures, the aquariums are often far too small, and they get overstimulated by the amount of human traffic. Because of this, orcas become depressed, become anxious, and in some cases they engage in stereotypical behavior, commonly associated with zoochosis. And this can manifest itself in ways like the orcas not treating themselves very well and ramming purposefully up into the glass, or even so to the point where they become injured. Okay, you guys win. You've tagged me in this video thousands of times. I will talk about it. The video that you guys just watched shows this person opening up an old well that allegedly has been abandoned for 86 years, and within the water below, there's a very odd-looking object that almost looks human-like in shape. Right off the bat, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this video is fake/staged. It was uploaded by this account, and they make a lot of content like this where they open up abandoned cars or abandoned refrigerators and find weird things inside of it. But it is true, there are a lot of people that do fall down wells, and it's a little bit more common than one might think. People sometimes do this on purpose. You guys probably catch my drift. Sometimes people are on substances and they're exploring abandoned places and they just accidentally fall in and they're not found. So really it is possible. It's just super highly improbable because the account that uploaded this finds this so often.
Hey, Apple!
What?
If you were to look at this woman, you'd think she looks pretty straight-laced, pretty normal, probably hasn't done very many bad things in her life, but you would be wrong here. She did some pretty questionable things. This is another Hey Apple slideshow. The first image here shows a woman, Barbara Bakeland, with her son, Anthony. The second image shows Anthony grown up as a young man, and the final image shows Barbara again. Barbara was a wealthy socialite and as such had a lot of social pressure. So when her son came out as not really being a fan of girls, she did some pretty drastic things to try to change that. He attempted to hire him women of the night. When this didn't work, she took it a step further. So she allegedly had her own relations with her son to try to turn him straight. This of course did not work, and it only deepened his already existing mental problems like schizophrenia. Anthony then attempted to take his mother's life once, but failed. He was released and then succeeded the second time when she allowed him back into her home.
If you look up and see this, you're already dead.
Ho ho ho!
Just like clockwork, at least 2 or 3 times a year, people look up into the night sky, they see this very weird phenomenon going on, and people start freaking out. This video poses a very simple question. My mom was outside, she called me out to record this. Someone please explain this. You see this object, it's moving in a very odd way, sending off these weird patterns, and a lot of people have their own thoughts about it. According to some of the comments, people thought this was a nebula. This got 19,000 likes. Some people thought this was Jesus coming back, but I'm sorry to inform you, it's none of these things. This is actually more than likely a rocket leaving our atmosphere, and specifically this very weird visual effect is known as the twilight phenomenon. When these rockets are launching, they're releasing a bunch of their propellants, and when it leaves the shadow of the Earth and goes into the sun, you then get this weird illuminated effect, and you see all of that mist coming off.
Dark brown.
But here we go.
Okay, as it turns out, this is not actually as bad as you might think. That being said, it's still a horrible idea and you shouldn't do it. This TikTok video that I got tagged in, quite honestly, is insane. It shows this guy with apparently 14-year-old expired lemonade. He opens it up, pours himself a shot, takes a drink, and makes this disgusted face. And we can see this really does not look like lemonade. It looks like applesauce. Now, the first thing that everybody was worried about, myself included, was botulism. This is a toxin that builds up as a result of bacteria in some expired foods, and it is very deadly. It kills a lot of people. But surprisingly, botulism is really not that much of an issue when it comes to expired lemonade because of its high acidity content. In fact, a lot of harmful bacteria can't grow in expired lemonade. Even so, the more expired lemonade is, the worse it's going to be for you, and at the very least, it's probably going to upset your stomach and you might throw up.
This monster is actually 100% real.
Ho ho ho!
On one hand, I don't like seeing these large machines going to waste, but on the other hand, it's very fascinating to look at them after they've been run down. This is a TikTok video that I got tagged in. There is no context to this video. This person's just driving down the road. They show one end of this large machine. They then pan all the way to the other end. We can see the true scale. And if you look right here, you'll notice that it has buckets, meaning this machine is meant for digging. Now, believe it or not, this abandoned machine is actually relatively well known, and it has a name. It's referred to as Lucy, and it's located in South Sudan. The original purpose for this machine was to help create the Jonglei Canal, which was going to siphon some of the water from the Nile River and move it to other agricultural areas. The work stopped though in the 1980s, and now there's a bunch of these machines. This one here is different. This one is Sarah. I'm typically not the type of person that covers live news. However, I did talk about this topic a while ago. We now have an update, and this is a big one. This slideshow first shows a still image from police body camera showing a father by the name of Christopher Schultz. The second image is then that of his late 2-year-old daughter, who he is credited for taking the life of. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but back in 2024, Christopher arrived home in Arizona on a 109-degree day, and he left his youngest daughter, 2 years old, Parker, in the vehicle, went inside, and turned the vehicle off. Inside the house, he was playing video games, even looking up X-rated videos, and Parker ended up passing away because the car was so hot. Fast forward to November 5th of this year, and Christopher ended up removing himself from the gene pool hours before he was supposed to book himself in prior to his sentencing on November 21st.
If you see the woman in red, you're already dead.
Ho ho ho!
For once, we finally have a video that was posted in the IdkSterling subreddit that I'm going to talk about that isn't brain rot. I'm shocked. Somebody posted this clip that looks like it was recorded on an old camcorder, shows this woman in red on a beach waving to the cameraman. She then immediately starts sprinting towards the camera and her face changes drastically. She looks like something from a horror movie. So a lot of people were asking for the original source on this video, and I'm sorry to tell you, it came from this TikTok account, Soarer Horror, which specializes in creating horror content. The only caveat here is that it's all made with Sora AI or other AI generation tools. In fact, the primary reason why this clip was cropped this way is because on the original clip, the Sora watermark pops up in the top left and the bottom right. So they were trying to make it seem as though it was a real clip, not AI. It also seems as though they were inspired by The Grudge when creating these horror female characters. I genuinely have no idea why the helicopter pilot would do this. It seems like they made mistake after mistake, and it's likely what led to 5 people losing their lives. The video that you guys just watched has recently been going viral. It shows a helicopter coming in to land. Their angle is off though, so the tail of the helicopter gets clipped and it's barely hanging on by a thread. But instead of staying and landing here, the helicopter pilot then takes back off and flies out further into the sea. The type of helicopter seen in this video was a Russian Ka-226. It's a helicopter with coaxial rotors, meaning it does not need a specific tail rotor to stay balanced. So when this tail end fell off, the helicopter was partially stable for a short period of time. The pilot even landed in the water, and if he had just shut off the system then, he would have been fine, but instead they flew out, they crashed into a building, and they ended up losing 5 people inside, and 2 others were injured. Sorry to tell you guys, but this video is misguided at best, and at the worst, it's just blatantly lying. This video that I got tagged in has the caption, POV, you're in 1923 watching King Tut's tomb open, everybody around you starts dying and you're next. We then get accompanying images related to King Tut, and this caption here makes it seem like there's some sort of curse and a bunch of people died, the ones that exhumed his grave. Tut's tomb was opened back in 1923, and one of the primary reasons why this myth arose about King Tut's curse was because one of the people that was paying for this event to take place ended up passing away shortly after the tomb was opened. In reality, King Tut had nothing to do with this death. Instead, it was caused by an infected mosquito bite on the man's cheek, which caused blood poisoning. Other people connected to the tomb also died, but this was over the decades following this, and it wasn't in any particular order. Alone at the edge of a universe. If your feed on TikTok is anything like mine, you've probably been getting inundated with these videos about the tripod fish and how depressing their life is. So is it really that depressing? So a brief rundown of the life cycle. Tripod fish hatches, they are in this juvenile stage for quite some time. It's pretty low odds to survive. They then undergo a metamorphosis where they develop these elongated fins that allow them to stand like a tripod, and they sit on the ocean floor for years and just ambush food pretty much. The reason why people are so depressed about this is because they're under the impression that a tripod fish is stuck and that this is something it doesn't want to do. In reality, tripod fish are able to move, albeit not too well, and even though from a human perspective this existence would suck, the tripod fish does not know any better. This is how it's evolved to live. The same way aliens, if they were looking down on us, would see things that we're doing and think, wow, that really sucks, but we don't know any better. If this video is truly authentic, this might be one of the craziest videos that I've been tagged in on TikTok. I know that's a crazy claim because there's not much happening visually, but right here we can see a TV playing some sort of TV channel. We can also see a framed photo of a leader. And the claim here is that this video was recorded in the Democratic Republic of North Korea. If you don't know why that's crazy, let me break it down. As we all know, North Korea is extremely restrictive when it comes to internet access, allowing people to see content for free, and it's even more strict about allowing people to have social media access. It's basically non-existent. Even when it comes to TV, there are only 4 channels that are broadcasted, and it's basically all propaganda. So somebody having a social media account and a phone connected to TikTok would be insane. In fact, if this person were caught, if this clip was real, they would definitely be sentenced to death. They're not going to survive.
When they dance like this, it's bad news.
Ho ho ho!
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really don't see why people are freaking out about this video. Everything here seems to be completely fine. This video went super viral on TikTok. Of course, I got tagged in it about 100 times. It shows this group of 5 individuals on a relatively low quality camera dancing, and there's no context to this clip, so people started making up their own stories. Now, what a lot of people believed this video showed was some sort of cartel video from Mexico, more than likely, recorded on an older camera, and the reason for this is because a lot of these cartel videos used for intimidation feature their subjects that unfortunately pass away doing goofy things beforehand as a means of dehumanizing them and making them seem lesser than. The account that originally posted this though was IdkSterling, and they upload a bunch of videos of people dancing. In addition to this dance is very obviously highly choreographed, and a cartel video is not going to feature something like this that would take so much time to practice. I want to be clear right out the gate, this is an unsubstantiated story, but if it is true, it's very disturbing. This video has 4 different images. 2 of them feature a Belarusian model by the name of Vera. We then get an image of black market organ values and an image of a human organ storage box. For context, Vera traveled to Thailand on September 12th, and then she went to Myanmar, where she went missing and her family completely lost contact with her. In the middle of October, different tabloids started talking about how she was trafficked to Myanmar against her will, brought to a scam center, and harvested for her organs. Authorities in Thailand stated that she traveled willingly to Myanmar by herself, showing this image of her walking through a gate without anybody forcing her to do so. But still, people have taken this black market organ story and ran with it, even though it's not substantiated, or the flip side, it's not substantiated that she's okay.
Guys?
I think most of the people that watch my videos by now know that square waves are bad news, and 99.9% of the time that's true. This time though, I think it's a little bit different. The video that you guys just watched shows a person standing on top of a pier, recording a body of water, and they're concerned because in the body of water there are square waves. If you don't know why this is bad, let me explain. Most of the time when you see square waves, it's the result of water going in different directions perpendicular to one another at a 90-degree angle, and this creates really unpredictable currents. So if you're swimming in it, you might end up drowning if you're not a strong swimmer. The further out square waves are present, the larger those swells are, and therefore the more dangerous it is. In this case though, because this person is on a pier, these square waves are not caused by alternating currents per se. It's probably caused by one wave bouncing into it and then bouncing back off. So they're probably very weak and just at the shore.
Doing this was a horrible idea.
Ho, ho, ho!
Yes, I apologize guys. This is another video that I had to cut off because if I show this, the video is probably gonna get taken down. The clip that you guys just watched shows this group of people at an amusement park ride, but in particular, we're focusing on this man in white. Ride goes up, the camera pans up, and once it pans back down, the guy in white is now standing on the platform far too close to this, and right after I cut the video off, this makes contact with him and knocks him down. For context, this clip was recorded 2 years ago in Brazil, and the reason why this guy got up onto the platform in the first place was because he was trying to save a small black dog that had wandered onto it. Shockingly, even though this guy got blasted by the ride, he was sitting up somewhat fine afterwards, at least conscious, and he made a full recovery, though he did require some surgery. Which is insane. This guy is extremely lucky. There are tons of people that have been flattened by these, and they don't ever get up. I can't lie, I'm actually a little bit surprised here and impressed. I thought this was not going to be possible, but it is. This is another long-range photography TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in, showing a beautiful mountain range in the distance, this person sitting on a pretty high viewpoint, then get a zoomed-in image of the mountain range, and the distance between a specific mountain, Mount Elbrus, and a city in Georgia, Batumi. For context, Mount Elbrus is the tallest mountain in Europe, standing at over 18,500 feet tall, so pretty ridiculously large, and it sits 192 miles away from Batumi. So while it is possible to see this mountain because it's so tall, it is extremely rare to be able to do so with the naked eye. It really depends on atmospheric conditions. Also, in order to see Mount Elbrus, you usually have to be at a pretty high viewpoint already, and even then, it's just slightly visible. I know this video probably seems innocent enough, but trust me, the backstory here is much more disturbing than you'd think. The clip that you guys just watched was recorded back in October of 2018. This young girl by the name of Lainey Yusei was driving this go-kart at home. She's only 5, and despite the fact that she's going slow and everything seems to be completely under control, her hair then ends up falling out of its bun and into the belt of the motor, pulling her back. Because of this, Lainey was partially scalped, her skull was fractured, and it was so fractured that you could see inside of her head. She was promptly rushed to the local hospital. However, they were not equipped to deal with this type of emergency surgery, so they flew her somewhere else. Fortunately, Lainey did make it. According to my research, after this, she was suffering from seizures and, of course, PTSD, which I do not blame her. This would be such a traumatic thing to go through at just 5 years of age.
Why does he have 2 rows of teeth?
Ho ho ho!
Recording somebody sleeping is a little bit odd, so I took the liberty of covering up this person's face, and we're solely going to focus on what's going on right here. This video that I got tagged in shows a person sleeping with their mouth open. It asks a simple question: can a dentist explain? They then zoom in, we can see that there are 2 rows of teeth here, and while I'm not a dentist, I can definitely help explain. But first off, there are 2 things that can cause this. Number 1 is shark teeth. This is typically seen in children though. This will resolve itself over time when the baby teeth fall out. Number 2 though, and likely what's going on here, is something known as hyperdontia, which is when you have an excess amount of permanent teeth in your mouth. The exact cause of this is unknown, although it's suspected that genetics have a role to play with this, as well as a few other syndromes, but we won't get into that. That would take way too long to explain. Either way, if you want to remove these excess teeth, you definitely have to visit a healthcare provider and a professional. There's no way you can do this by yourself.
Yeah. What are you?
I am really disappointed that we didn't get any close-up shots of this, but to be fair, I can understand why this person was afraid. This looks pretty creepy. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows a person walking on a beach in New Zealand. They're going past this cave. They then look inside of the cave and we see this really weird object that kind of resembles a spider, and they're wondering what it is. The first thing that people thought this was an aloe ferox plant that had died and washed up on the beach. And while this does look quite similar, because this video was recorded in New Zealand, it is highly unlikely because aloe ferox does not natively grow there. A lot of people also thought that it was an animal of some kind, but again, that's really not realistic. Instead, I think it's more than likely some type of seaweed. And if I had to venture a guess for a specific type of seaweed, I would guess a bull kelp, because they're large, they have very thick tentacle-like structures, and it would make sense for it to wash up on the beach.
What is that? A giant stingray?
That would be an insanely large giant stingray. I tell you what, that would set some records, but no, that's not what it is. This TikTok video that I got tagged in got over 50 million views. It shows these people on a cruise. This guy's clearly enamored with something that he sees in the water. The person recording then walks over. We can see this giant floating mass, and they think it's a giant stingray, but no, this is actually sargassum. Sargassum is a free-floating brown algae. It creates these large mats in the ocean, sometimes tens of thousands of square feet, and it's pretty important for marine life when it's out in the ocean. So seeing this here on your cruise is a good thing. But these sargassum mats can become a problem when they reach the shore. This can disrupt the local ecosystem and cause some pretty big problems when it comes to decomposition of the sargassum.
If you see this in a car, don't ride in it.
Ho ho ho!
If you don't yet understand what this possibly and likely means, you might want to scroll off this video now. I'm giving you guys a fair warning. All right, you had your warning. For those of you that chose to stay, this video that was sent to me through Instagram shows a parking brake inside of a vehicle, pretty standard stuff. The person then zooms in. We can see a bunch of green bottle flies on the tip of the parking brake, and this is probably not a good thing. The connection that people have been drawing here, myself included, is that parking brakes are slender and lengthy. I'll just leave it at that. And green bottle flies are known to consume decaying organic matter like carrion or feces. So if you really think about it, why would green bottle flies be attracted to this object that's shaped like this? Then again, these bottle flies also consume nectar and sweet things, so hopefully this person spilled something sweet on their hands and grabbed the parking brake.
She found this washed up on the beach.
Ho ho ho!
I don't know what it is, but the past couple of days, multiple people have tagged me in videos of weird things washing up on the beach. Here's another one. In this video, this woman is walking along an abandoned part of the beach when she comes across 2 large white objects just being tossed around in the surf. She then makes the guess that it's a giant squid, and while I think this is somewhat reasonable, I think this is more than likely whale blubber. I've done quite a few videos about whole whales washing up on beaches like this, but a lot of the times when whales pass away out in the ocean, far away from the shore, they get pulled apart by different animals that are trying to consume them, and pieces of their blubber are going to float and wash up on shore. Blubber is usually white, doesn't have any distinct shape to it, whereas when squids wash up on shore, yeah, they can also be white, but usually they're going to be a little bit more distinct in their shape. You can tell that it's a squid. These other objects over here also make me think that it's blubber or some type of organ. Can I imagine this? Yes, I can. However, it is not true, and I've talked about this many times. This is another TikTok that I got tagged in involving some very imaginative people. It says, when trees touched the sky. We then see these rock formations that are just that, but the implication here is that they are giant tree stumps. Now, it is pretty easy to see how people might arrive to this conclusion or fantasize about this. Tree stumps do resemble these rock formations and vice versa. I get that. But trees taller than around 425 feet is really physically not possible because of the hydraulics and how difficult it would be to move water and nutrients up the xylem of a tree. Now, don't get me wrong, it would be really cool to have giant trees. I've said this before, I really wish this was real, but logically it just does not make sense, and we know how these rock formations and mesas are formed through thousands of years of erosion.
This woman is lucky to be alive.
Ho ho ho!
For once, somebody making a horrible mistake doesn't result in them losing their life in one of my videos, so I'm kind of happy about that. This is a video that was sent to me through Instagram DM. In it, this woman can be seen standing on top of a boulder, clearly on top of a mountain. She then does a one-legged squat here for a pose, loses her balance, and topples over the edge of this boulder. Now, in terms of specific information, I couldn't find any news articles disclosing that, but what we more or less know is that this likely happened in China, that this woman was a hiker, and that this probably happened this year. So after toppling over the edge of the boulder, she ended up rolling her way down the side of this hill here. You can see that it's somewhat steep. And in terms of the outcome, there is conflicting information. One source that I saw stated that she lost her life. The other stated that she survived, mostly in part to the fact that she was wearing a helmet and that all of her injuries were skin abrasions. Personally, the only reason why this location is scary to me is because there are so many stairs. This would make me exhausted. This is a relatively cryptic TikTok that I got tagged in, showing a tunnel filled with stairs. The caption, it's just a normal tunnel. And then of course we get the classic no context statement, people who know. To give you guys context, the tunnel with all of these stairs shown in this video is Dawei Station, located in Japan. This place is also referred to as Japan's #1 mole station, and that's because to get to the platform down below, you have to walk down 486 steps, so it's very deep into the earth. Besides the terrifying fact that it takes around 10 minutes to go up and down these steps, it is also reportedly haunted. There's a mountain nearby that hikers have passed away on, so people state that the hikers have found their way into this station and that they frequent its area. You know what? I think this is a very solid statement, and who knows, maybe there are other creatures out there that we thought were extinct that aren't. This slideshow has 3 images. The first one shows a fossil of a coelacanth fish with the caption, they thought this fish went extinct with the dinosaurs, until one was found in 1938 unchanged for 65 million years. Makes you think what else might be out there. Now, the coelacanth is a very ancient species. These guys originated over 400 million years ago, and they were thought to have gone extinct around 66 million years ago. In 1938, though, a species of coelacanth was discovered off of the coast of South Africa, and from there on out, coelacanths have been discovered multiple times, although it is very rare to see them. As of now, they're considered critically endangered. There's really not many habitats in which they thrive. Their population is very low, and they're at a risk of going extinct permanently due to deep-sea fishing. Most of the time when I'm covering videos like this, I have to think a little bit, do some research, but this time I immediately knew how this was done. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this person in the desert focusing a magnifying glass using the sun on this portion of dirt. Spontaneously out of nowhere, there's an immediate pop and a bunch of water starts flowing from the dirt. So a lot of people were wondering what happened. Well, first off, if you didn't know, you can use a magnifying glass to focus sunlight into a very small point. This can get up to temperatures of 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Lots of kids used to play around with magnifying glasses when they were young and burn ants. And while this super hot point can have an impact on things like paper, doing it on the dirt isn't going to do anything. So we're only left with one option. This person filled up a balloon with water, placing it underneath the dirt, and they popped the balloon with the magnifying glass. They also end up popping a balloon with air at the end, and you can even see the broken balloon. Yup, it's been a while since we've talked about a video like this, but take my word for it, guys, it's not worth watching this one. This is a video that was taken from CCTV camera in Manhattan back in 2019 in a luxury apartment complex. In it, this guy wearing a backpack steps off the elevator continues moving, and I blur this part out, but there's another man who attempts to exit, but he doesn't get out in time, and the elevator goes down with him partially through. The unfortunate individual that got caught here while the elevator was going down was a software salesman by the name of Sam. And when this happened, they were at lobby level. So Sam, as well as the other individuals inside of the elevator, expected to be able to get out because this was the bottom floor, but the elevator malfunctioned and continued going down into the shaft below. Sam was pronounced no longer alive at the scene, and his family did bring a wrongful death lawsuit against the owners of the building, but I'm not too sure the updates for that. Seriously, again, nobody is forcing you guys to do this. Why is this happening? This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in showing a person who's managed to squeeze not one, not two, but 3 fingers into elbow joints for pipes, and their fingers appear to be stuck, although I'm pretty sure this person's joking, and I honestly hope they are. Fortunately though, it's a human tendency to do things that we know we shouldn't be doing, sticking appendages where they shouldn't be going, and people have actually done this unironically, not on purpose, so here's what you're gonna do if you find yourself in this situation. You can first attempt to get this off using something like a lubricant. If that doesn't work and you have a metal file on hand, you can attempt to break it out yourself. Or what a lot of people do is call the fire department and have them get you out. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's just going to be an uncomfortable situation and something that you're going to look kind of foolish for.
There's so much plastic in this one.
The person that uploaded this video stated that they wanted to bring a lawsuit against Monster, but I'm sorry, I'm really not seeing very much evidence here that would justify that. The video that you guys just watched shows a person opening a brand new Monster, pouring it into a Tupperware container, holding a flashlight up to the edge, and pointing out these small objects here that they claim is plastic. So if you do find any foreign objects inside of your food or product and you consume them and you get injured, then yeah, you would have grounds for suing, but here's why I think this probably won't hold up. To me, this looks very much like ice crystals, and these crystals can form immediately if you pour out a cold drink that is super cooled, meaning it's cooled to a temperature lower than the freezing point of water. If you want to prove that this is indeed plastic, I would recommend pouring it into a strainer and then feeling the objects, not just shining a flashlight into this Tupperware container and stating blanket statement, yeah, this is plastic.
Always be careful of the dreaded zombie deer.
Ho, ho, ho!
I know for a lot of people, the first thing that comes to mind when looking at this video is zombie deer or CWD, but that's not actually what we're looking at. The video that you guys just watched has a pretty ominous energy to it. It shows a buck with one of its antlers halfway fallen off. It looks like it's in rough shape. The camera then pans over to another deer that has large growths coming off of the side. So this is quite the ragtag bunch. So first off, for the buck, it's standard for males to lose their antlers, and they don't oftentimes fall off in one foul sweep. Sometimes they're hanging on by just a thread. In terms of the deer with the growths, these are also very common. These are fibromas, and it's basically like a large wart. They do generally resolve over time. Usually they're not going to be very life-threatening unless they impede the deer's ability to see or consume food. So really, this video that looks pretty creepy is actually quite normal. There's lots of deer with these problems.
Frying a fish right now. I love you, Cracker. I do love you.
At this point, a lot of you guys are probably familiar with Timothy Treadwell, but this is interesting and different. It's speculated that this is the bear that killed him. This video that I got tagged in on TikTok shows a man by the name of Timothy Treadwell, also nicknamed the Grizzly Man, standing just feet away from a large grizzly bear that's in the process of consuming a salmon, and it's theorized that this is the very same bear that killed Timothy. For those that don't recall, Timothy was an avid bear enthusiast who spent the summers of 1990 through 2003 in the Alaskan wilderness, documenting his time with grizzly bears and building personal connections with them. From 1990 to 2002, it was smooth sailing, but in 2003, Timothy stayed one extra week in the Alaskan wilderness. The bears were getting ready for hibernation. One bear moved in that he wasn't too familiar with, and that bear, Bear 141, took Timothy's life, as well as the life of his girlfriend, Amy.
The message.
I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that this video is fake, but in the off chance that it's not, you should probably start carrying a pistol on you. The video that you guys just watched shows a person screen recording a voicemail that they received, and if you're not familiar with the phonetic alphabet, it probably doesn't make very much sense. You hear this voice saying a seemingly random string of words, but if you take the first letter from every single word that's said, it spells out something pretty concerning. It quite literally says, "We see you, Jordan, you cannot hide." For those curious, here is the entire phonetic alphabet used by the aviation industry as well as the military. But going back to the phone call here, if you're receiving weird calls, constantly getting spammed by them, and you are scared, you probably do want to contact the authorities, at least get this reported, and even if they're calling with a no-caller ID, they're still going to be able to find the original number if things really get serious and dialed up a notch.
They're still on us! Faster! Listen! Oh my god, look at that! Hold on, right there!
Do you guys realize what this means? We are absolutely cooked as a society. I've said this so many times, but we really are. This is another ludicrously viral TikTok that I got tagged in with over 350 million views. It shows these guys boating at nighttime being followed by these creatures. The claim is that these here are sirens caught on camera, and people are believing this. It's not real though. Gone are the days that we have CGI of these creatures that looks somewhat real, but you can tell that it's fake. Now AI has become so good at these low quality grainy videos that it's hard to tell the difference between something that's real and fake. This guy's entire account is AI content, although they market themselves as being completely real and authentic, showing you what they don't want you to see. These AI videos are completely taking over the space. I bet you that 10% of the people that watched this thought this was 100% real. Seriously, we're really going to be uploading videos like this with no context? What are you trying to circle here? This TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in shows a large red circle around this portion of the Pacific Ocean. It's pretty barren. We then zoom in, we can see a small island right here. Further zoomed in, we can see the shape of the island. And finally, there's this red circle off the coastline. Not too sure what we're looking at here. For context, the island featured in this video is Easter Island. On Easter Island, there's a settlement by the name of Hangaroa, and this portion of the beach that was circled is Playa Poco Poco and Caleta Hangaroa. In both of these locations, Playa Poco Poco and Caleta Hangaroa, there is nothing out of the ordinary going on, and I couldn't find anything with any creepy backstory. The only thing I can think of is maybe the surf looks a little bit weird on the coastline, but this is the most recent satellite imagery that I pulled off of Google Earth.
The giraffes were too tall for the overpass.
Don't worry guys, this is not at all what it looks like. This video is very misleading, in fact. The video that you guys just watched shows two giraffes being transported on the road. They're about to go underneath an overpass. It looks like they're about to hit it. The camera then blurs, and then when the camera unblurs, it looks like the giraffes no longer have their neck or head attached. There's two reasons why this video is so misleading. Number one, it's AI, it's not real. There's been a new push where people have been uploading videos like this of giraffes going underneath overpasses. But number two, even in the AI video, the giraffes actually bend their heads down. There's no scene of them making contact with this at all. That being said, these videos are based off of a real event that happened back in 2014 in South Africa involving one giraffe that did end up losing its life, hitting its head on an overpass. And even so, when giraffes are transported, they're not going to be transported like this. Usually it's more protected. Not gonna lie, this might be one of the craziest topics that I've ever talked about, and you guys are gonna see why here in a minute. This slideshow has three images. First, of a Senegalese government-owned ferry by the name of Le Jula. The second image, the exact same ferry, capsized. And the third image, divers attempting to recover bodies inside of the wreckage. Le Jula was a passenger ferry that was commissioned back in 1990, and it lasted until 2002, when off the coast of Gambia, it capsized with 2,000 people on board. Only 64 people survived this tragedy. Even crazier, only one woman survived. But this whole thing happened for two big reasons. Number one, they overloaded the ferry. The capacity was 500. There were 2,000 people on board. And number two, they were licensed to only go a certain distance out from shore. They went way further out, so when they hit a large storm, they capsized and sank within 5 minutes. There are photos of the divers going inside. I would not recommend looking it up.
Why you should call police if you see this.
Ho, ho, ho!
This is actually super impressive because I don't know many people that would be this attentive and be proactive about it too. The video that you guys just watched without a caption seems pretty unspectacular. We can see a light on the side of this house flashing in a pretty interesting pattern, but if you know Morse code, you'll realize that the light is literally signing SOS. For those that don't know, Morse code is a way to convey different letters and numbers through the use of rhythms. This can be seen using lights or using a traditional telegraph with the beep 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 beep. And SOS is bum 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 bum. Also, just in case other people didn't know, SOS stands for Save Our Souls, so it means presumably that the person inside using this light to make this rhythm is in trouble. According to the person that uploaded the original video, they did end up calling the non-emergency hotline, and 5 police officers did show up. If you guys frequent places like Instagram or Reddit, you've probably seen this clip before, but just in case you haven't, I'm going to give you guys the backstory so you don't have to look it up and potentially become traumatized. This video was recently posted to TikTok with no context. It shows this guy walking down a narrow walkway, and he's about to enter this store. He then turns around. You can see him visibly start to panic as 2 individuals approach him, and this is where the video cuts off. According to my research, and there's only one article talking about this incident took place on April 1st of 2023 in Jequié, Brazil. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Specifically, this appears to have happened in a strip mall / shopping area. This is where this man was ambushed out of nowhere by 2 men wearing helmets who chased him into the store. This guy did attempt to hide. There was nowhere to run though. So him, as well as another individual, were dispatched of right then and there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I'm going to attempt to explain this in the most coherent way possible, but please bear with me. It's probably going to come out a little bit different than I'm intending it to. This is a little bit of a different video that I got tagged in that shows an illusion. We can see this image split into 3 parts, and in the first variation of this image, there are 8 different dwarves or elves. But as soon as you switch the top 2 pieces, instead of 8, there are now 7. So a lot of people were wondering how this was possible. On an off note, this illusion reminds me of the infinite chocolate glitch, where instead of actually getting extra chocolate, you're just making the bar a little bit shorter. It's an optical illusion. This is essentially the exact same thing, and these 2 elves are responsible for the illusion. So if you look down here, we can see there are 7 elves. If we look up here, we can see that there are 7 heads. So when you switch the places, the original 7 bodies are the same. The extra one standing back here gets moved over, and this one's head was never up here, so that's how it works.
Más normal posible.
Aquí en la casa pongo la mesa.
I can't tell you what type of voice I was expecting, but I can tell you this: I was not expecting to be this shocked. The video that you guys just watched shows a man being interviewed. The interviewer is asking him a basic question, and as soon as he opens his mouth to speak, one of the lowest voices that I've personally ever heard or seen recorded comes out. To give you guys some context, this guy's name is Javier Contreras. He's from Guatemala, and yes, he does have one of the deepest voices ever on record. This guy is also an absolute giant in every single sense of the word, standing at 7 feet 8 inches, and his condition is extremely rare, so it's not known exactly what it is that's caused him to grow like this out of control. Javier was actually born as a twin as well, but his brother Rodrigo ended up passing away very early in infancy. So it was thought that Javier might follow the same path, but fortunately he defied odds. He's still around as far as I can tell, and at his house helping to take care of his family. If you've never actually seen the original video for this case, consider yourself lucky, and I would highly recommend just staying away from it altogether. This is a no context Impacto music video that I got tagged in that features an image of a Guatemalan woman. There's an image right here that appears to show a glove hanging upside down. I blurred it out just in case. And a lot of you guys might recognize this photo here as Alejandra, also referred to as Miss Pac-Man. For context, this is a case that took place back in October of 2018 in Guatemala, involving this woman Alejandra as well as her husband. Her second husband assumed that she was cheating on him, so he went with a machete and filmed a horrific video. I cannot get into the details here, and people, because of the aftermath, refer to her as Miss Pac-Man because she looked like Miss Pac-Man when he was done with her. It's an absolutely brutal case and a completely senseless loss of life. This story really reinforces the point that you really can't trust anybody fully, even people that are in positions of power. This is a creepy TikTok that I got tagged in that shows multiple angles of CCTV footage with the caption, "POV, you're walking home when a police officer stops you and takes you to the woods." And we see one of the last points where this woman was seen alive. The woman featured in this video was Sarah Everard from London, a 33-year-old who back in March of 2021 ended up passing away at the hands of this off-duty police constable, Wayne Couzens. Sarah was walking home from a friend's house when she was stopped by Wayne, who claimed that she was violating Corona guidelines. So he arrested her, really kidnapped her, and took her to a densely wooded location where he had his way with her and then dispatched of her. He was caught though and pleaded guilty, where he was sentenced to life in prison. Really hate to be the one to tell you this, but no, this is absolutely not true at all. Don't believe a word of this. This is a very viral TikTok video that I got tagged in that claims to show rare footage of the Titanic sinking back in 1912. The footage itself is terrifying and grainy, looks like it could be from 1912, so sadly, people were believing this was true. In reality, there's no video footage at all of the Titanic sinking, and what's more, there isn't even a single photograph of the Titanic sinking. Not that it really would have mattered anyways if people had their cameras out, because it was extremely dark on the night that the Titanic sank, and an older camera probably would not be able to capture very clearly what was going on anyways. There's tons of simulated footage though, and recreations of exactly what happened, so you know what happened, but yeah, you're not going to find any real footage, and this clip has been posted multiple times to numerous social medias, and people have believed it. Don't. Yeah, no, I'm not living here for $1 million. You're asking me to suffer for like 6 months, and then when the wintertime comes around, freeze to death. This video is very simple. It says abandoned cities in Russia. We then zoom into the northeast portion of Russia. We can see Yolton, and we get a few photos of it with a population of 0. Now, when you're looking at these photos, you'll probably notice that this city actually seems quite large. There's well-established buildings, so you're probably also wondering, why did people move? For context, Yolton was founded back in 1953. It's in a very remote location, and the entire reason for moving people here was because there were found to be tin and tungsten deposits in the area, so they opened up a mine. Population peaked in 1989 at over 5,000, but shortly afterwards the Soviet Union collapsed, the mines became unprofitable, and of course everybody up and left since there was no more economy here.
Whoever one of you bitches in Kansas City took my fucking pills, I have a lupus.
In my opinion, there is definitely no overreaction here. I would be in the exact same boat. I would be pissed off. This video was uploaded by a TikToker named ThatKidJ. In it, Jay calls somebody out for taking the pills out of his vehicle, and as we come to find out, they are pills meant to treat lupus, and this is exactly how Jay reacts to finding out this information. Completely valid. For those that don't know, lupus is an autoimmune disease, meaning this is a disease that causes your immune system to attack different tissues in your body. It can manifest itself in many different ways. You can have more minor versions of lupus or more severe and life-threatening versions that attack your organs like your heart, kidney, and liver. And depending on the severity of your condition, the medication can cost between $10 a month to, get ready for this, $6,000 a month, $72,000 yearly. So losing your medication definitely can't feel good, and on top of that, this is a complete violation of personal property.
This job is more deadly than you think.
Ho, ho, ho!
I've been putting off talking about this video for quite some time now, but I finally know what we're looking at here. I just had to put some thought into it. This is an older video uploaded a couple years ago. It doesn't have any context. In it, we can see this hole that has a red glow emanating from it, and the person recording is pushing a bunch of this substance into it. Now, initially, I thought this was some sort of in-ground brick furnace / incinerator, but after getting an angle of the inside of where this person is, we can see that that's not the case because there's a ladder going down. Instead, it would appear to be some sort of grain hopper or an animal feed hopper. And this theory was later corroborated after this person uploaded a video to their account a little bit more recently, well after the point where I was tagged in it. So basically, the person recording is on the inside, shoveling all of that feed towards the center, which is getting dumped into a bag or some other way to transport it where it needs to go. And as for the red glow here, it's probably just from red plastic and sunlight. Not going to be showing the end of this video, but rest assured, this did not end well for this guy standing over this tire. The video that you guys just watched is pretty unassuming. It shows a guy working to inflate a large heavy-duty truck tire. Everything is fine. He then stands up directly over the rim, and shortly after this, the truck tire ends up exploding, sending him flipping like a ragdoll through the air. Now, a lot of people seem to take this for granted, but inflating a heavy-duty truck tire is something that is not for the faint of heart because of its ability to explode. This can be caused by a variety of different things, sidewall issues, multi-piece rim malfunctions, etc. But one thing is for certain, this causes injury and more than likely causes death. And this is exactly why these tire inflation cages were invented, to take the brunt of that explosion and keep workers safe.